The massive ship floated in the darkness of space like a metal mountain. Inside its cold halls, millions of alien warriors waited for their moment. They had been waiting for a very long time. 10,000 years, to be exact. Commander Vexathul walked through the weapon chambers of the ship called Eternal Conquest. His 6 arms moved with perfect control as he checked each plasma rifle. His black eyes scanned every piece of battle armor. Everything had to be perfect. They had only one chance to get this right. The Zethkari were not like humans. They were taller, stronger, and much more deadly. Their skin was gray like old metal, and their bodies were built for war. Each warrior had been changed from birth to be the perfect killer. Their bones were harder than human bones. Their muscles were stronger. Their hearts beat slower but pumped blood that carried more oxygen. They could see in the dark, hear sounds from far away, and smell fear. But the most important thing about the Zethkari was their patience. They did not rush into battle like wild animals. They planned. They studied. They waited until they knew everything about their enemy. For 10,000 years, they had been studying the humans of Earth. Vexthul stopped at a large window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there was a small blue planet called Earth, the 3rd planet from a yellow star, home to billions of creatures called humans. Soon, very soon, that planet would belong to the Zethkari Dominion. The commander touched a button on his arm. A hologram appeared in the air in front of him. It showed a human male, naked and helpless on a metal table. The Zethkari had captured this human many years ago from one of their spaceships. They had cut him open and studied every part of his body. Humans were weak, the scientist had told him. Their bones broke easily. Their skin was soft and could be cut with simple blades. They could not see in the dark. They could not hear high sounds or low sounds. They were slow and clumsy compared to Zethkari warriors. The hologram changed. Now it showed human cities. Tall buildings made of glass and metal. Roads filled with metal boxes that carried humans from place to place. The humans called these cities advanced, but the Zethkari had cities that floated in the clouds of gas. Giants. Human technology was like toys compared to what the Dominion could build. Another touch of the button showed human weapons. Guns that shot small pieces of metal. Bombs that made fire and smoke. Flying machines that dropped more bombs. The humans thought these weapons were powerful, but Zethkari shields could stop their bullets. Zethkari armor could survive their bombs. Their flying machines were slow and easy to shoot down. Vexthul had seen all of this data thousands of times. Every Zethkari warrior had studied it until they knew it by heart. They knew how humans walked, how they talked, how they fought, and how they died. There would be no surprises when the invasion began. The commander walked deeper into the ship. He passed training rooms where young Zethkari practiced killing techniques on human-shaped dummies. He heard the sound of plasma weapons firing at targets that looked like human soldiers. In one room, warriors practiced fighting in Earth gravity, which was lighter than the gravity on the Zethkari homeworld. In another room, the smartest Zethkari studied human behavior. They watched videos that had been stolen from Earth's communication networks. They saw humans at work, at play, at war. They learned how humans reacted to fear, to pain, to loss. They studied human leaders and human followers. They mapped out every human city, every human military base, every human government building. The planning had been perfect. The Zethkari knew exactly where to strike first. They would attack the human military bases and destroy their weapons. They would capture the human leaders and make them surrender. They would take control of the human communication networks and spread fear. Within days, maybe hours, the human resistance would collapse. Vexthul entered the war room, where his top officers waited for him. The room was filled with floating displays that showed Earth from every angle. Red dots marked the targets they would hit first. Blue lines showed the paths their ships would take. Green areas showed where they would land their troops. General Kethvar, his second in command, stood beside the largest display. She was even taller than Vexthul, and her 4 arms were covered in scars from 100 battles. She had led the invasion of 12 different worlds. Earth would be her 13th victory. "The fleet is ready, Commander," she said in their clicking language. 1,000 ships, 10 million warriors, enough firepower to destroy every human city in one day. Vexthul nodded. "And our intelligence is complete?" "Yes, sir. We know the location of every human military base. We have maps of every human city. We know how their weapons work and how to defeat them. We have studied their battle tactics and found weaknesses in all of them." Another officer stepped forward. This was Science Leader Mextoth, whose job was to understand human technology. "Their computers are simple to hack," he reported. "Their communication systems are easy to jam. Their power plants can be shut down from orbit. Once we cut off their electricity, their cities will go dark." "What about their space defenses?" Vexthul asked. "Laughable," Mextoth replied. "They have a few small stations in orbit around their planet. We can destroy them all in the first minute of the attack. Their rockets are too slow to escape our weapons. They will not even know we are there until it is too late." The war room fell silent as everyone thought about the coming battle. For 10,000 years, the Zethkari had prepared for this moment. They had built the greatest war fleet in the galaxy. They had trained the most deadly warriors. They had gathered the most complete intelligence about their enemy. Nothing could go wrong. Vexthul walked to the center of the room and activated the main display. It showed Earth in real time, a blue and white ball hanging in the darkness. Clouds swirled over the oceans. The night side of the planet sparkled with the lights of human cities. "Beautiful," whispered General Kethvar. "It will be a fine addition to the Dominion." "The humans will fight," said another officer. "They always do." "Let them fight," Vexthul replied. "We have studied their wars. They fight with emotion instead of logic. They make mistakes when they are afraid or angry. They waste resources trying to save civilians instead of focusing on military targets. Their compassion makes them weak." He pointed to different areas on the planet. "We will hit their military first, then their government centers, then their major cities. The survivors will surrender within a week." "And if they don't surrender?" asked a young officer. Vexthul's black eyes grew cold. "Then we will show them why the Zethkari Dominion rules half the galaxy." The meeting continued for several hours. They reviewed every detail of the invasion plan. Which ships would attack which targets, which troops would land in which cities, how they would deal with human resistance, how they would control the human population after the conquest. Everything had been thought of. Every possibility had been planned for. The Zethkari had fought wars against dozens of different species across the galaxy. They had conquered worlds with technology more advanced than Earth. They had defeated enemies stronger, faster, and smarter than humans. Earth would be easy. When the meeting ended, Vexthul returned to his private quarters. The walls were covered with trophies from his past victories, weapons taken from defeated enemies, flags from conquered worlds, the skull of a Rigelian war chief who had thought he could resist the Dominion. Soon he would add human trophies to his collection. The commander sat at his desk and opened a communication link to the Dominion homeworld. The face of Supreme Leader Zixthul appeared on his screen. She was ancient even by Zethkari standards, and her wisdom was respected throughout the galaxy. "Commander," she said in greeting, "are you ready to bring glory to the Dominion?" "Yes, Supreme Leader. The fleet awaits your orders. 10,000 years we have prepared for this moment. 10,000 years of planning, training, and building. The humans will learn what happens to those who possess something the Dominion wants." Vexthul bowed his head. "They will learn quickly, Supreme Leader." "See that they do. The galaxy watches us, Commander. Other species wonder if the Zethkari have grown weak during this long preparation. Show them that we have not. Show them that the Dominion's power only grows with time. It will be done." The communication ended, and Vexthul sat alone in his quarters. Outside his window, the stars looked the same as they had for 10,000 years. But tomorrow, everything would change. Tomorrow, the Zethkari would claim their prize. He opened another file on his computer. This one contained psychological profiles of human leaders, presidents, prime ministers, generals, and scientists. The Zethkari had studied them all. They knew their fears, their weaknesses, their breaking points. When the time came to make them surrender, the Dominion would know exactly what to say and what to do. The file also contained information about human culture, their music, their art, their stories. Vexthul found it all very strange. Humans created things that served no practical purpose. They told stories about heroes who sacrificed themselves for others. They made music that stirred emotions instead of conveying information. They painted pictures of things that did not exist. The Zethkari had no art, no music, no stories except for battle reports. They found human culture wasteful and confusing. But they had studied it anyway, because understanding an enemy meant understanding everything about them. One thing in the files had puzzled Zethkari scientists. Humans seemed to fight harder when they were protecting something they loved. Their battle effectiveness actually increased when their families or friends were in danger. This made no logical sense. Fear should make a warrior weaker, not stronger. The Zethkari had decided this was probably wrong information. No species could fight better when afraid. It went against everything they knew about warfare. The humans must have been lying in their historical records, trying to make themselves seem braver than they really were. It did not matter anyway. The humans would not have time to be afraid. The attack would be so fast and so overwhelming that resistance would be impossible. Vexthul closed the files and prepared for sleep. Tomorrow would be a very busy day. The greatest invasion in Dominion history would begin at dawn, Earth time. By sunset, the blue planet would belong to the Zethkari. He activated the ship's communication system and spoke to his entire fleet. "Warriors of the Dominion," he said. "Tomorrow we claim our prize. 10,000 years of preparation end tomorrow. 10,000 years of victory begin tomorrow. Sleep. Well, for tomorrow we make history." All across the fleet, millions of Zethkari warriors settled in for their last night of waiting. Their weapons were clean and ready. Their armor was polished and checked. Their minds were focused on the battle to come. They had no doubt about the outcome. How could they? They were Zethkari. They were the perfect warriors. They had studied their enemy for 10,000 years. What could possibly go wrong? The sun was just starting to rise over the mountains of Montana when the sky caught fire. Jake Morrison had woken up early because it was his 12th birthday, and he was too excited to sleep. Today was going to be the best day ever. His mom had planned a paintball party at the old Henderson farm, and all his friends were coming. They were going to play war games in the big field behind the barn. Jake was eating breakfast and watching the sunrise when he saw the first shooting star. Then he saw another one, then another. Pretty soon the whole sky was full of them, streaking down like bright orange tears. "Mom," he called, "come look at this." His mother, Sarah Morrison, came to the kitchen window, carrying a cup of coffee. She looked up at the sky and frowned. "That's weird. I don't remember hearing about any meteor shower." The shooting stars were getting bigger and brighter. Some of them were making noise now, a whistling sound that got louder and louder. One of them looked like it was heading right for the Henderson farm. "Maybe we should call off the party," Sarah said, starting to sound worried. "No way," Jake said. "This makes it even cooler. It's like a space battle." Neither of them knew that it really was a space battle. High above Earth, Zethkari ships were launching thousands of drop pods toward the surface. Each pod contained a squad of elite warriors trained to kill humans. The pods were designed to survive atmospheric entry and land with pinpoint accuracy at their targets. The problem was that Zethkari intelligence had made a small mistake. Commander Vexthul stood in the command center of his drop pod as it fell toward Earth. Around him, 11 other Zethkari warriors checked their weapons one final time. Their mission was simple: capture or destroy the human military training facility designated as Target Alpha 7. According to their intelligence files, Target Alpha 7 was a fortified compound where human soldiers practiced combat techniques. The facility was surrounded by obstacles designed to train warriors. It had multiple buildings for storing weapons and housing troops. Satellite images showed humans in camouflage clothing moving around the area in organized formations. It was clearly an important military base, and destroying it would send a message to all human forces. Nowhere was safe from the Zethkari Dominion. The drop pod hit the ground with a tremendous crash, sending dirt and grass flying in all directions. Steam hissed from its cooling vents as the side panels blew open. 12 deadly alien warriors poured out, their plasma weapons ready to kill anything that moved. Vexthul activated his tactical display and scanned the area. His enhanced vision picked up heat signatures moving around the compound. Approximately 20 human soldiers were present, just as intelligence had predicted. Some were taking cover behind obstacles. Others were moving in what appeared to be flanking maneuvers. "Perfect," he whispered in his clicking language. "They know we are here, but they think they can fight us." He raised his plasma rifle and signaled to his squad. "For the Dominion," he roared, and charged toward the nearest building. What he found inside was not what he expected. Instead of military equipment, the building was full of folding tables covered with party decorations. There were balloons tied to chairs, streamers hanging from the ceiling, and a big birthday cake with 12 candles. A banner stretched across one wall that read, "Happy Birthday, Jake." Vexthul stopped and stared. This did not match any of his intelligence reports. "Commander," one of his warriors called from outside, "the human soldiers are attacking." Vexthul rushed back outside and saw something that made his blood freeze. The humans were not soldiers at all. They were small, much smaller than adults. And they were wearing bright-colored clothing instead of military uniforms. They were human children, and they were shooting at his warriors with some kind of projectile weapons. A bright green ball of something splattered across Vexthul's helmet visor, temporarily blinding him. He stumbled backward, trying to wipe the substance away, when something wrapped around his legs. He looked down and saw that he had become tangled in a rope obstacle course. "Got one?" shouted a high-pitched human voice. Vexthul's enhanced hearing picked up the sound of more projectiles being fired. His warriors were calling out in confusion as more colored substances hit their armor and weapons. The tactical displays on their helmets were starting to malfunction as paint seeped into the electronic systems. "What is this substance?" demanded Sub-Commander Grixtal over the radio. "Unknown," Vexthul replied, still fighting to free himself from the ropes. "It appears to be some kind of chemical weapon. The human younglings were not running away in fear like they were supposed to. Instead, they were advancing on the Zethkari positions with remarkable coordination. They moved from cover to cover, communicating with each other using hand signals that Vexthul did not recognize. Some of them were flanking his warriors while others provided covering fire. One small human with yellow hair popped up from behind a wooden barrier and threw something at warrior Klexivor. It exploded in a shower of blue paint that covered the warrior's weapon sensors. Klexivor fired blindly, his plasma bolts going wide and hitting a tree. "Commander," another warrior called. "My targeting system is offline. This paint is interfering with all of our electronics." Vexthul finally freed himself from the ropes and tried to assess the situation. His squad of elite warriors was being overwhelmed by human children armed with paint weapons. It was impossible. It was humiliating. It was not supposed to happen. The humans had some kind of advanced camouflage technology. Even though Vexthul could see them clearly, his tactical computer kept losing track of them. They would disappear behind obstacles and reappear somewhere else as if they could teleport. Actually, they were just running around and hiding behind trees. But the Zethkari had never encountered enemies who moved so randomly and unpredictably. All of their combat training was based on fighting organized military units that followed logical tactics. These humans seemed to have no tactics at all. They just ran around shooting paint and making loud noises. "Retreat to defensive positions," Vexthul ordered. "Form a perimeter around the drop pod." His warriors tried to follow the order, but the humans adapted instantly. Instead of attacking the perimeter directly, they started climbing trees and shooting down at the Zethkari from above. Others crawled through tall grass and attacked from unexpected angles. One warrior, Thexmul, found himself surrounded by 3 small humans who had somehow snuck up on him without triggering his motion sensors. They hit him with so much paint that he could not see, hear, or breathe properly. He stumbled around in circles, firing his plasma rifle at nothing. "I cannot see," he called over the radio. "The paint has covered all of my sensors." "Use manual targeting," Vexthul replied. "I am trying, but they move too fast." It was true. The human children were incredibly agile. They rolled, jumped, crawled, and climbed with an ease that Zethkari warriors could not match. Their small size allowed them to hide in places that would not provide cover for an adult, and they seemed to have no fear at all. Jake Morrison was having the time of his life. When the aliens had first appeared, he had been scared for about 10 seconds, but then he realized that their weapons did not seem to be hurting anyone. The bright beams they fired just made scorch marks on the ground and trees, and the aliens themselves were not as scary as they first appeared. They were big and ugly, sure, but they moved clumsily in their heavy armor. Their weapons were bulky and slow to aim, and best of all, they seemed to be completely confused by paint. "Tommy," Jake called to his best friend, "get the paint grenades from the supply shed." Tommy Chen nodded and sprinted toward a small building where Jake's mom had stored extra paintball supplies. The aliens tried to shoot at him, but he was too fast and too small a target. Their energy beams passed over his head as he slid under a picnic table. Meanwhile, Jake's sister Emma had figured out something important. The aliens' helmets had glowing sensors on the front, probably cameras or something. If you could hit those sensors with paint, the aliens seemed to become almost helpless. Emma was only 9 years old, but she was a very good shot. She had been playing paintball with her older brother for 2 years. She knew how to lead a moving target and how to arc her shots over obstacles. She lined up carefully and fired a purple paintball right at the nearest alien's helmet sensor. The alien stopped moving and started making angry clicking sounds. It spun around in circles trying to find her, but she had already moved to a new position. "Emma," Jake called. "That was awesome. Try to get the big one." The big one was Commander Vexthul, who was still trying to understand what was happening. His squad of elite warriors was being defeated by human larvae. It made no sense. His intelligence reports had said that human children were weak and helpless. They were supposed to run away crying when they saw Zethkari warriors. Instead, they were laughing, actually laughing as they shot paint at the most feared soldiers in the galaxy. "Commander," Sub-Commander Grixtel's voice crackled over the radio. "I am receiving reports from other units. Similar situations are occurring all over the planet." "What do you mean, similar situations?" Vexthul demanded. "Strike Team Beta landed at what they thought was a military command center. It turned out to be a place where elderly humans practice slow-motion combat techniques. The humans are using some kind of martial arts to redirect our plasma fire back at us." Vexthul felt his blood pressure rising. "What about Strike Team Gamma?" "They attacked what appeared to be a fortified human position in a place called London. It was actually some kind of sporting event. The humans threw explosive projectiles at them and then charged with primitive weapons while making loud war cries. This was insane. Every single intelligence report was wrong. The humans were not behaving like any species the Zethkari had ever encountered. They were not even behaving like intelligent beings at all." A small human with red hair suddenly appeared next to Vexthul. The commander spun around and tried to grab the child, but she was already gone. Something wet and cold hit the back of his neck. He reached up and felt sticky birthday cake icing dripping down his armor. "She got you good, Mr. Alien," Jake Morrison called from somewhere nearby. "Nice shot, Amy." Amy Henderson, whose farm was being used for the birthday party, grinned as she reloaded her paintball gun. She had never seen anything as funny as these clumsy aliens trying to fight a bunch of kids. They had cool armor and fancy weapons, but they moved like they had never played a game in their lives. And that gave her an idea. "Hey, everybody," she called out. "Let's play tag. The aliens are it." The other kids immediately understood. Instead of trying to hide from the aliens, they started running around them in circles, getting closer and closer. The aliens spun around trying to keep track of them, but there were too many kids moving too fast in too many directions. Jake ran up and tapped Commander Vexthul on the leg. "You're it," he called, and ran away. Another kid ran up and tapped Sub-Commander Grixtel. "You're it too." Soon, all 12 alien warriors were spinning in circles as human children ran around them like a pack of playful animals. Every few seconds, one of the kids would dart in, touch an alien, and dart away again. The Zethkari tried to grab the children, but they were too slow. They tried to shoot them, but the kids were too close to their own warriors. They tried to form a defensive formation, but the children kept running between them and breaking up their ranks. Commander Vexthal made a decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. "All units," he said into his radio. "This is Commander Vexthal. Execute emergency extraction protocol. Repeat, execute emergency extraction protocol." "Sir?" Sub-Commander Grixtel said in confusion. "Are you ordering a retreat?" "I am ordering a strategic withdrawal," Vexthal replied with as much dignity as he could manage while a 9-year-old girl put birthday cake in his air intake vents. "But sir, these are only human children. Surely we can defeat them." Vexthal looked around at his squad of elite warriors. They were covered in paint and cake frosting. Their weapons were jammed, their sensors were offline, and they were being treated like toys by human larvae. "Sub-Commander," he said quietly, "if this is what human children can do to us, I do not want to find out what human adults are capable of." Around the world, the Zethkari invasion was falling apart in ways that defied all logic and military experience. In Tokyo, Strike Team Beta had landed in Ueno Park, expecting to find a human military training facility. Instead, they found 60 elderly Japanese citizens practicing Tai Chi in the morning sunshine. The humans moved slowly and gracefully, their arms flowing like water, their feet stepping lightly on the grass. Squad leader Kexmore had almost felt sorry for them. These ancient humans would not even be able to run away when the plasma fire started. The attack would be over in seconds. He was wrong. When the first Zethkari warrior fired his plasma rifle, something impossible happened. The nearest elderly human, a tiny woman who looked about 100 years old, simply moved her arm in a small circle. The plasma bolt changed direction and hit another Zethkari warrior in the chest. "What just happened?" Kexmore demanded over his squad radio. "The human deflected my plasma fire," came the confused reply. "She barely moved, but somehow she redirected the energy beam." More Zethkari opened fire, and more plasma bolts were redirected. The elderly humans continued their slow-flowing movements, but now every motion seemed to guide another energy beam back toward its source. The aliens found themselves shooting each other, while their targets remained completely calm. One ancient man, moving no faster than a gentle breeze, walked straight through a group of Zethkari warriors. As he passed each one, he touched them lightly on the arm or shoulder. The warriors collapsed immediately, paralyzed by some technique that their medical scanners could not identify. "Retreat," Kexmore ordered. "Fall back to the drop pods." But retreating was easier said than done. Every time a Zethkari warrior tried to move, one of the elderly humans would appear beside them with impossible silence. A gentle touch would send the warrior spinning through the air to land in a tangled heap. A light push would cause a fully armored soldier to lose his balance and crash into his squad mates. The humans never moved quickly. They never showed anger or excitement. They just continued their slow, peaceful dance while the most elite warriors in the galaxy fell around them like leaves in autumn. In London, Strike Team Gamma was having an even worse time. Intelligence reports had identified Wembley Stadium as a major defensive position. Satellite images showed thousands of humans gathered inside a circular fortification. The humans were clearly preparing for battle, as evidenced by their tribal war chants and coordinated movements. What the Zethkari had not understood was that they had attacked during a football match between Manchester United and Chelsea. 80,000 fans were already worked up into a frenzy when alien drop pods started crashing onto the football pitch. For about 3 seconds, the crowd was silent with shock. Then someone in the Manchester United section stood up and shouted, "Bloody hell, they're trying to stop the match." What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come, assuming anyone survived to tell the story. 80,000 football fans became 80,000 soldiers in the span of a heartbeat. They did not flee in panic or wait for instructions from authorities. They simply decided that these aliens were not going to ruin their game. The first wave of attacks came from the upper sections. Fans started throwing everything they could get their hands on. Beer bottles, meat pies, scarves, shoes, and coins rained down on the alien warriors like a metal and fabric hailstorm. Most of the projectiles were harmless individually, but there were thousands of them coming from every direction. Squad leader Rexville raised his plasma rifle to return fire, but a fish and chips container hit him right in the helmet sensor. As he clawed at the greasy paper stuck to his visor, a foam finger bonked him on the head, then a rubber ball, then someone's jacket, then a folding chair that someone had somehow managed to throw from the upper deck. "These humans have powerful throwing weapons," he reported to his commander. "Negative," came the reply. "Intelligence reports indicate that humans have weak arms and poor accuracy." "Then intelligence is wrong," Rexville shouted as a London AZ guidebook bounced off his armor. "They are bombarding us with hundreds of different projectiles." But the real shock came when the fans started leaving their seats. Instead of running away from the aliens, they were running toward them. Thousands of humans poured onto the football, pitched from every direction, waving banners and chanting something that sounded like war cries. "United, united, united," chanted half the crowd. "Chelsea, Chelsea, Chelsea," chanted the other half. But within minutes, both groups were chanting something else. "Get the aliens, get the aliens, get the aliens." The Zethkari had trained to fight organized military units with clear command structures and predictable tactics. They had never encountered anything like a football riot that had spontaneously decided to defend Earth. The humans had no weapons except their bare hands and whatever they could pick up, but they had something that was far more dangerous. They were absolutely fearless. They charged straight at plasma rifles without hesitation. When their friends fell, they did not retreat. They got angrier and fought harder. Worse yet, they were learning. The first group of fans to reach the aliens got knocked down by plasma fire, but the ones behind them watched carefully and saw that the alien weapons took a few seconds to recharge between shots. They timed their attacks perfectly, rushing in during the recharge cycle and tackling the warriors before they could fire again. Other fans noticed that the aliens had trouble aiming at multiple targets, so they spread out and approached from different angles, forcing the Zethkari to choose which threat to engage first. While the aliens were shooting at one group, another group would hit them from behind. Still, other fans figured out that the alien armor had weak joints. They started aiming their tackles at knees, elbows, and neck seals. Several Zethkari warriors found themselves flat on their backs with their helmets knocked off, surrounded by angry humans who were taking selfies with alien technology. "This is impossible," Rexville called to his squad. "These humans have no military training, but they are fighting like professional soldiers." "Request immediate extraction," another warrior replied. "They have somehow weaponized their stadium food. The chemical burns are eating through my armor." That was actually just curry sauce from a knocked-over food stand, but the Zethkari had no way of knowing that. Meanwhile, in suburban America, things were getting even stranger. Soccer mom Janet Patterson had been driving her minivan to pick up her daughter from volleyball practice when the alien drop pods started falling from the sky. One of them had crashed right in the middle of Maple Street, blocking her path home. Janet was not in a good mood. She had already been to the grocery store, the dry cleaners, and the pharmacy that morning. She still had to pick up her other kids from their various activities, start dinner, and help with homework. She did not have time for an alien invasion. When the drop pod opened and armored warriors poured out with plasma rifles, Janet's first thought was not fear for her life. It was annoyance that someone was blocking traffic in her neighborhood. She rolled down her window and called out, "Excuse me, could you move your spaceship? I need to get through." The Zethkari warriors stared at her in confusion. According to their intelligence, humans were supposed to flee screaming when confronted by alien soldiers. This female was sitting calmly in her transportation vehicle and making demands. "Human," squad leader Zexstar called out in broken English. "You will surrender or be destroyed." Janet looked at her watch. "Look, I really don't have time for this. My daughter's practice ends in 10 minutes, and if I'm late, Coach Martinez will make the whole team run extra laps. Just move your thing to the side so I can get by." One of the warriors raised his plasma rifle and pointed it at Janet's minivan. She looked at the weapon with interest. Is that supposed to be a gun? Because it looks more like a hairdryer. My daughter has one that's almost the same color. The warrior fired a plasma bolt at the ground next to her van, creating a small crater in the asphalt. He expected the human to panic and flee. Instead, Janet sighed and opened her door. Fine. If you won't move it, I'll move it myself. What happened? Next would become known throughout the Zethkari fleet as the minivan incident. Janet reached into her vehicle and pulled out a tire iron. She walked straight up to the nearest alien warrior, pushed his plasma rifle aside like it was a toy, and started whacking his armor with the metal tool. Move. Clang. Your. Clang. Ship. Clang. The warrior stumbled backward, more shocked than hurt. His combat protocols had no instructions for dealing with an angry human female wielding primitive tools. Zexstar, he called to his squad leader. The human is attacking me with some kind of blunt weapon. Shoot her, Zexstar replied. I cannot. She's too close to my position. Janet had figured out that if she stayed within arm's reach of an alien, the others could not shoot her without hitting their teammate. She continued to beat on the warrior's armor while calling out to her neighbors. Hey everyone. These aliens are blocking our street. Come help me move their ship. Doors opened all along Maple Street. Instead of hiding in their houses, the suburban humans came out to investigate. They saw one of their neighbors fighting alien invaders with a tire iron and decided to help. Bob Chen emerged from his garage carrying a leaf blower. Get away from Janet, you jerks. He turned on the machine and aimed it at the nearest Zethkari warrior. The powerful airstream filled the alien's helmet vents with dust and leaves, making it impossible for him to see or breathe properly. Mrs. Garcia came running from next door with a garden hose. She turned it on full blast and started spraying the alien's electronic equipment. Sparks flew as water seeped into their weapon systems. Teenager Mike Wilson rode up on his skateboard and started circling the confused warriors at high speed. Every time he passed one, he would whack it with his skateboard. The aliens spun around trying to track him, but he was too fast and kept changing direction. Soon, the entire neighborhood had joined the fight. Suburban humans armed with lawnmowers, power tools, sports equipment, and kitchen utensils were overwhelming elite alien soldiers who had trained their entire lives for combat. The problem was that the Zethkari had trained to fight other military forces, not angry civilians defending their homes. Military units had predictable objectives and followed recognizable tactics. These humans seemed to have no plan except make the aliens go away so we can get back to our lives. They used whatever was available as weapons. They attacked from unexpected directions. They showed no fear of superior firepower, and worst of all, they were teaching each other new tactics in real time. Aim for the joints in their armor, Mrs. Garcia called out as she continued spraying aliens with her hose. There, helmets come off if you hit them just right, added Bob Chen, who had discovered this by accident. The big guns are really slow, Mike Wilson shouted as he ollied over a plasma rifle. Just stay close and they can't hit you. Commander Vex Thule received increasingly frantic reports from strike teams around the globe. In Australia, his warriors had encountered humans who seemed to have trained native animals to fight alongside them. In Russia, they were being defeated by humans using primitive tools like hammers and wrenches. In Brazil, the humans had somehow turned a festival parade into a coordinated military assault. Everywhere the pattern was the same. The humans were not behaving like any species in Zethkari records. They adapted instantly to new situations. They cooperated without central command. They used their environment creatively. And they absolutely refused to be intimidated by superior technology. Commander, General Kethavar's voice crackled over the fleet communication system. I am receiving retreat requests from 60% of our strike teams. They claim to be overwhelmed by human resistance. That is impossible, Vex Thule replied, though his own squad was currently being chased around a farm by 12-year-olds. Humans are primitive and disorganized. Tell that to Strike Team Zeta. They landed at what they thought was a human government facility. It turned out to be something called a DMV. The humans inside were already angry about something, and when our warriors interrupted their waiting, they became extremely aggressive. Our squad is currently barricaded in a bathroom while 200 humans try to break down the door. Vex Thule closed his eyes and tried to think. 10,000 years of preparation. 10,000 years of intelligence gathering. 10,000 years of training the most elite military force in the galaxy, and they were being defeated by birthday parties, old people, sports fans, and suburban families. How is this possible? As the fourth minute of the invasion ticked by, Commander Vexthul began to understand the horrible truth. The Zethkari had spent 10,000 years preparing to fight the wrong enemy. Every piece of intelligence they had gathered about humans was technically correct but completely wrong. Yes, humans were physically weaker than Zethkari warriors. Yes, their technology was less advanced. Yes, their weapons were primitive. But none of that mattered, because the Zethkari had fundamentally misunderstood what made humans dangerous. They had studied human armies and assumed that was how all humans fought. They had analyzed human governments and thought that was how all humans organized. They had observed human cities and believed that was how all humans lived. But armies, governments, and cities were just the surface of human civilization. Underneath was something far more complex and far more dangerous: human creativity. The reports coming in from around the world painted a picture that made no sense to military minds trained in logic and order. Humans were not just fighting back, they were improvising weapons and tactics that had never been seen before. In Paris, a street musician named Henri had somehow turned his accordion into a sonic weapon. The instrument's bellows could produce sound waves that interfered with Zethkari communication systems. When Henri played certain notes, the aliens' helmets would screech with feedback so loud that the warriors had to remove them or go deaf. But Henri was not satisfied with just disrupting their communications. He had quickly figured out that different notes affected different pieces of alien equipment. High notes made their weapons overheat. Low notes scrambled their tactical displays. And when he played a waltz, the aliens' armor joints would lock up, freezing them in whatever position they were in. Within minutes, Henri had taught his technique to other musicians in the area. Soon the entire Latin Quarter echoed with the sound of accordions, violins, and trumpets as street performers waged acoustic warfare against alien invaders. In Nebraska, a group of kindergarten teachers had made an even more disturbing discovery. The finger paints they used in their classrooms were apparently visible to alien sensors in ways that human eyes could not detect. When Mrs. Henderson painted a blue handprint on a Zethkari warrior's chest, every other alien in the area could see it glowing like a beacon on their tactical displays. The teachers quickly realized they could use the paint to mark aliens for tracking, create false targets to confuse their sensors, and even paint camouflage patterns that would make humans invisible to alien technology. 5-year-olds were running around the playground painting elaborate designs on trees and playground equipment, turning the entire area into a maze of false signals that made alien targeting systems completely useless. But the most terrifying report came from Australia, where Dr. Sarah Kim had done something that violated every assumption about human behavior in crisis situations. Dr. Kim was a wildlife biologist who had been studying saltwater crocodiles when the aliens landed near her research station. Instead of fleeing for safety, she had spent the first 3 minutes of the invasion teaching the crocodiles to hunt alien technology. It turned out that Zethkari energy weapons produced a specific electromagnetic frequency that drove local wildlife into a feeding frenzy. Dr. Kim had noticed this when a plasma rifle discharge sent every crocodile in the area into an aggressive hunting mode. Instead of running away from the dangerous aliens, the crocodiles were actively seeking them out. "This is Dr. Kim at Darwin Research Station," she reported over emergency radio frequencies. "I have successfully weaponized the local ecosystem against alien invaders. The crocodiles are now actively hunting alien technology signatures. I repeat, we have turned crocodiles into anti-alien missiles." That report was disturbing enough, but what came next was worse. Other wildlife researchers around the world started reporting similar phenomena. In Alaska, polar bears were tracking alien heat signatures. In Africa, elephants were coordinating group attacks against drop pods. In the Amazon, poison dart frogs were somehow getting inside alien armor. Humans were not just adapting to fight the aliens themselves. They were recruiting every living thing on the planet to join the fight. Commander Vexthul tried to process this information while dodging birthday cake thrown by human children. How do you fight an enemy that can turn anything into a weapon? How do you plan tactics against opponents who make up new strategies every few minutes? The answer, he was beginning to realize, was that you cannot. The most disturbing example came from suburban Chicago, where the invasion had encountered something that broke every rule of warfare: a family barbecue. The Williams family had been grilling burgers in their backyard when Drop Pod 47 crashed through their fence. Squad leader Pextel had expected to find cowering civilians who would surrender immediately when faced with superior firepower. Instead, he found Grandpa Williams, age 78, standing over his grill with a spatula in one hand and a beer in the other. "Well, I'll be damned," Grandpa Williams said as 12 alien warriors poured out of the smoking pod. "Martha, come see this. We got ourselves some space visitors." Grandma Martha Williams came out of the kitchen carrying a pitcher of lemonade and a plate of cookies. She looked at the armed aliens and shook her head disapprovingly. "Now you boys put those guns down before someone gets hurt," she said in the tone of voice that had raised 6 children and intimidated dozens of grandchildren. "You're guests in our backyard, and guests behave themselves." Pextool raised his plasma rifle, but something stopped him from firing. The elderly female human was walking straight toward him with no sign of fear, carrying food and drink like she was greeting neighbors. His tactical training had no protocols for this situation. "Are you boys hungry?" Grandma Martha continued. "You look like you haven't had a good meal in days. Sit down and have some burgers. Dave makes the best burgers in the neighborhood." "Grandpa." Dave Williams nodded and flipped another patty on the grill. "Medium or well done?" he asked the nearest alien. The Zethkari warriors looked at each other in confusion. These humans were offering them food instead of weapons. They were being kind instead of fearful. Nothing in their training had prepared them for enemies who tried to feed them. "We are here to conquer your planet," Pextel explained in halting English. "Well, that sounds like hard work," Grandpa Dave replied. "You'll need to keep your strength up. Martha, get the folding chairs from the garage. These boys look tired." What happened next would be studied in xenopsychology courses across the galaxy. Instead of fighting, the Williams family began treating the alien invasion force like unexpected dinner guests. They offered food, drinks, comfortable places to sit, and friendly conversation. The Zethkari, who had been trained to handle resistance, surrender, or flight, had no idea how to respond to hospitality. Their cultural programming had no framework for understanding kindness from an enemy. They stood in the Williams' backyard, holding their weapons awkwardly, while an elderly human couple tried to make them feel welcome. "Now, what planet are you boys from?" Grandma Martha asked as she handed out paper plates. "It must have been a long trip. Do you have families back home?" We are warriors of the Dominion," Pextool managed to say. "That's nice, dear. What kind of work do you do when you're not conquering planets?" The question broke something in Pextool's mind. What did he do when he was not conquering planets? He had been born to be a warrior. He had been trained to be a warrior. He had lived his entire life preparing to be a warrior. He had never considered what else he might be. I do not understand the question," he admitted. "Everyone needs hobbies," Grandpa Dave said, handing him a burger. "Me? I like working on old cars. Martha here quilts. What do you like to do? For fun?" Fun. Another concept that had no translation in Zethkari culture. What was fun? What was the purpose of activities that did not serve military or survival functions? While Pextel struggled with these philosophical questions, his squad was experiencing something equally disturbing. The Williams family's neighbors had noticed the commotion and come over to investigate. Instead of calling for help or running away, they were joining the impromptu barbecue. "Hey, Dave," called Tom from next door. "Who are your new friends?" "Space aliens," Dave replied casually. "They're here to conquer the planet, but they looked hungry, so we invited them to stay for dinner." "Cool. Mind if I grab a beer from your cooler?" "Help yourself." "Aliens, this is Tom. He's my neighbor." "Tom, this is... What did you say your name was?" "I am Squad Leader Pextel of the Zethkari Dominion," the confused warrior replied. "Nice to meet you, Pete," Tom said, shaking the alien's armored hand. "Love the costume. You guys doing some kind of science fiction thing?" Within an The Williams backyard was full of neighbors, all treating the alien invasion as an interesting social event. They asked questions about alien technology, shared stories about their own lives, and generally made the Zethkari warriors feel like they were part of a community gathering rather than a military operation. It was psychological warfare of the most subtle and devastating kind. The aliens had come prepared to face fear, hatred, and violence. They were not prepared to face acceptance, curiosity, and kindness. Similar scenes were playing out across the planet, but not all of them were so peaceful. In downtown Phoenix, office workers had discovered that their daily coffee addiction gave them a significant advantage over alien invaders. The Zethkari nervous system was apparently hypersensitive to caffeine. When Strike Team Delta had landed outside a Starbucks, they were quickly overwhelmed by baristas armed with espresso machines. A single shot of concentrated coffee when thrown at an alien warrior would send him into convulsions that lasted for several minutes. The office workers had quickly figured this out and organized themselves into caffeine combat units. They moved from coffee shop to coffee shop, gathering ammunition and recruiting more fighters. Within an hour, downtown Phoenix was patrolled by humans carrying thermoses full of dark roast, hunting alien invaders like caffeinated vigilantes. In New York City, the situation was even more chaotic. A group of teenagers had discovered that alien technology was vulnerable to computer viruses, if you knew how to deliver them. It turned out that alien communication systems were designed to automatically connect to any electronic network they encountered, assuming that primitive human technology could not possibly threaten advanced Zethkari systems. They were wrong. 16-year-old Marcus Chen, who spent most of his time playing video games and arguing with people online, had figured out how to hack alien armor using his gaming controller and a modified smartphone. He could turn off their weapons, lock up their movement systems, or even make their helmets display embarrassing memes instead of tactical information. "Yo, check this out," Marcus called to his friends as he made an alien warrior's visor display, a dancing cat video. "I got root access to their whole network. I can see everything they're doing." His friend Ashley grabbed a tablet and started helping. "Can you turn off their ships?" "I'm trying, but their firewall is pretty good. Give me a few more minutes." While Marcus and Ashley worked on cyber warfare, their other friends were providing physical support. Tommy was using his drone to drop water balloons on aliens from above. Sarah was riding her hoverboard in circles around confused warriors, using a laser pointer to mess with their optical sensors. It was like watching children play video games, except the characters they were controlling were real alien soldiers worth millions of credits each in training and equipment. Commander Vexethul received all of these reports while still trapped at a birthday party in Montana. His communications officer was trying to coordinate responses while covered in finger paint. His weapons specialist was attempting to clean cake frosting out of his plasma rifle. His tactical analyst was working on untangling himself from party streamers. The situation was beyond military disaster. It was beyond military comprehension. The humans were not fighting like any species the Zethkari had ever encountered. They were not even fighting like a military force at all. They were fighting like humans. And that, Vexthul realized, was exactly the problem. The Zethkari had studied human soldiers, human weapons, and human tactics. But soldiers, weapons, and tactics were just tools that humans used. They were not what made humans dangerous. What made humans dangerous was that they never stopped being creative, never stopped adapting, and never stopped trying to solve problems in new ways. When faced with superior technology, they did not surrender. They figured out how to use that technology against itself. When confronted with impossible odds, they did not despair. They changed the rules of the game. Every human was a scientist, an engineer, a tactician, and an artist all rolled into one. They could not be predicted because they were constantly inventing new ways to be unpredictable. And worst of all, they were teaching each other these new techniques in real time, using communication networks that the Zethkari had dismissed as primitive toys. By the end of the 4th minute, Commander Vexthul knew with absolute certainty that the invasion had already failed. Not because the humans were stronger or better armed, but because they were something that the Zethkari could never defeat. They were human. The only question now was whether any of his warriors would survive long enough to retreat. The 5th minute of the invasion began with Commander Vexthul making the most difficult decision of his military career. As birthday cake dripped from his helmet, and human children continued to use his elite warriors as playground equipment, he opened a fleet-wide communication channel. "All units, all ships, this is Commander Vexthul," he said, trying to maintain what dignity he could while a 9-year-old girl braided ribbons into his armor joints. "Execute Protocol Omega-7 immediately. Full tactical withdrawal. All ground. Forces return to extraction points. Repeat, full retreat." The communication channel exploded with confused responses from squad leaders across the planet. "Sir, did you say retreat?" came the voice of squad leader Rexville from London. "We cannot retreat. We are Zeth-Kari. We do not retreat from primitives." In the background of Rexville's transmission, Vexthul could hear what sounded like 80,000 humans chanting something about football and alien heads. There was also a rhythmic banging sound as if someone was using alien armor as a drum set. "Squad leader Rexville, what is your current tactical situation?" Vexthul asked. We are barricaded inside a human waste facility while thousands of humans attempt to break down the barriers. They have somehow organized themselves into coordinated assault groups using primitive communication methods like shouting and text messaging. They are sharing tactical information faster than our computers can process. Can you fight your way to your extraction point? Negative, sir. The humans have learned to predict our movement patterns. Every time we try to advance, they are already waiting for us. They have turned their entire city into a maze of obstacles and ambush points. And, sir, they are laughing while they do it. That last part was what bothered Vexthul the most. The humans were not desperate defenders fighting for their lives. They were treating the invasion like some kind of game. They were enjoying themselves. Another voice crackled over the radio. "Commander, this is Squad Leader Kexmore from the Tokyo landing zone. Request permission to surrender to the local humans." "You want to surrender?" Vexthul asked in shock. "To humans." "Sir, they have offered us tea and small cakes. They say they want to learn about our culture and share their own. They have been very polite and welcoming. Fighting them seems rude." Vexthul closed his eyes. His warriors were not just being defeated, they were being converted. "All units," he said firmly. "No surrendering to humans, no accepting their food or drink, no cultural exchanges. Just return to your drop pods and prepare for extraction." But even that simple order was proving impossible to follow. The humans had adapted to Zeth-Kari tactics with terrifying speed. They no longer waited for the aliens to make the first move. They were actively hunting alien warriors throughout their cities. In Los Angeles, Strike Team Epsilon found themselves being tracked by humans using modified traffic cameras and cell phone networks. Every time they tried to move, text messages would spread their location to nearby humans within seconds. Groups of civilians would appear from all directions, armed with whatever they could find: garden hoses, paint cans, kitchen utensils, exercise equipment, and musical instruments. The humans had also figured out how to jam Zeth-Kari communications using garage door openers and baby monitors. Several squads had gone completely silent, cut off from their commanders and each other. In Miami, the situation was even stranger. The humans had somehow convinced local wildlife to join their resistance efforts. Squad leader Texmore reported being attacked by coordinated groups of pelicans, dolphins, and flamingos, all apparently working together under human direction. "The dolphins are using echolocation to track our underwater movements," he reported. "The pelicans are dive bombing our positions with fish-based projectiles, and the flamingos. Sir, I do not know how to describe what the flamingos are doing, but it is very disturbing." Commander Vexthul tried to imagine what pink birds could possibly do to elite alien warriors, then decided he did not want to know. The worst reports were coming from rural areas, where humans had access to large amounts of farm equipment and agricultural chemicals. In Kansas, Strike Team Zeta had been defeated by a farmer using a crop duster to spray them with liquid fertilizer. The chemicals had not harmed their armor, but the smell had overwhelmed their air filtration systems, forcing them to remove their helmets. Once their helmets were off, The humans had easily captured them using farm animals and rope. The squad was currently being held prisoner in a barn, while local children fed them corn and asked them questions about space travel. But the most humiliating defeat came from suburban Denver, where Strike Team Ida had been overwhelmed by a group of soccer moms armed with minivans and cell phones. The humans had discovered that alien drop pods were just the right size to be towed by large vehicles. Within minutes of landing, Ida's pod had been hitched to a suburban assault vehicle and dragged through the streets of Denver, while the human driver called out tactical updates to other minivan operators over hands-free communication systems. Target, secured and mobile, the human had reported to her network. Heading east on Maple Street. Sarah, can you block their exit at the intersection? Jennifer, bring your jumper cables. I think we can disable their electronics. The Zethkari warriors had found themselves trapped inside their own drop pod, being transported against their will by humans who seemed to think alien invasion was some kind of neighborhood emergency that could be solved through proper organization and teamwork. By the time they managed to blast their way out of the pod, they were surrounded by 47 minivans, each operated by a different soccer mom with extensive experience in coordinating complex logistics under pressure. The aliens had surrendered within minutes, but perhaps the most disturbing report came from rural Oregon, where Dr. Jim Peterson, a retired high school science teacher, had apparently reverse-engineered alien plasma technology using parts from his garage workshop and a broken microwave oven. This is incredible, Dr. Peterson had broadcast over emergency radio frequencies. These alien energy weapons work on a simple principle of contained plasma generation. Give me a few more hours and I can build one using car batteries and copper wire. Within 30 minutes, half the humans in Oregon were attempting to build their own plasma weapons using household items and internet tutorials. Most of their attempts failed, but enough succeeded to give human resistance forces energy weapons comparable to Zethkari military equipment. Commander Vexthul realized that if the humans were allowed to study alien technology for more than a few hours, they would probably figure out how to improve it. Within days, they might have better weapons than the Zethkari themselves. The evacuation had to happen immediately, before the humans could learn any more. But evacuating was proving almost as difficult as invading had been. The humans had quickly realized that the aliens wanted to leave, and they were doing everything possible to prevent it. In some cases, this meant direct military action. Humans with improvised weapons were attacking drop pods and preventing takeoff. But in other cases, it meant something far more insidious. The humans were being nice to them. Squad leader Pextel, who was still trapped at the Williams family barbecue in Chicago, reported that the humans were actively trying to convince his warriors to stay on Earth. They have offered us permanent residence, he said over a communication channel that was somehow playing background music. Apparently, little Timmy Williams had figured out how to hack alien radio systems using his iPod. They say we can live in their neighborhood and become part of their community. Mrs. Williams has offered to teach us how to make something called casserole. You will decline their offer and report to extraction immediately, Vexthul ordered. But, sir, they are being very kind to us. They want to know about our families, our home planet, our culture. They have shown us pictures of their children and asked us to share pictures of our own offspring. Warrior Klexvor has been telling them about his son's graduation from military academy. This was psychological warfare of the most sophisticated kind. The humans were not trying to defeat the Zethkari through force. They were trying to make them not want to fight at all. Vexthul had to end this invasion before his entire army decided they would rather live on Earth than return to the Dominion. All extraction craft, he called to the fleet orbiting above. Begin immediate pickup operations. Use tractor beams if necessary. Do not allow ground forces to delay or resist extraction. The response from Fleet Commander Zixmar was not encouraging. Commander, we are experiencing technical difficulties with our extraction systems. The humans have apparently learned to interfere with our tractor beam operations. How is that possible? We are not certain, sir. It appears that they are using their primitive radio broadcasting systems to generate electromagnetic interference. Every time we try to lock onto a drop pod, human radio stations start playing loud music that disrupts our targeting computers. Vexthul could hear it now. human music bleeding through his communication systems, turning his tactical radio network into some kind of entertainment broadcast. The songs had names like We Are the Champions and Don't Stop Me Now, and seemed designed to boost human morale while making alien coordination impossible. Some human somewhere had figured out how to use their planet's communication infrastructure as a weapon. Every radio station, television broadcast, cell phone tower, and internet connection was being used to disrupt alien operations. But worse than the technical interference was the psychological effect. The music was catchy. Vex Thule found himself unconsciously tapping his armored foot to the rhythm of something called Eye of the Tiger. Several of his warriors were actually humming along to human songs while they waited for extraction. The humans were not just defeating them militarily, they were converting them culturally. Emergency extraction protocol, Vex Thule commanded. All ships abandon precision targeting. Use wide-area tractor beams to grab everything in a half-kilometer radius around each drop pod. We will sort out our warriors from human debris once we are safely in space. It was not a dignified retreat, but it was the only way to get his army off this insane planet before they all decided to become human citizens. The evacuation began with the sound of massive engines powering up in Earth's atmosphere. Tractor beams swept across the planet's surface, lifting drop pods, alien warriors, and unfortunately large amounts of human property into the sky. From his position in Montana, Vex Thule watched his drop pod rise into the air, carrying with it not just his squad but also the birthday party decorations, most of the playground equipment, 3 confused farm animals, and little Jake Morrison, who was still holding a paintball gun and whooping with excitement about his unexpected trip to space. "This is so cool," Jake shouted as they lifted off. "Are we going to your spaceship? Can I see the engine room? Do you have aliens my age I can play with?" Vex Thule realized that the evacuation was going to be much more complicated than planned. All across Earth, similar scenes were playing out. Drop pods were lifting off carrying not just Zethkari warriors, but also birthday cakes, garden furniture, confused pets, and enthusiastic humans who thought alien abduction was the best thing that had ever happened to them. Fleet Commander Zixmar's voice crackled over the radio. "Commander, we have a problem. Our ships are now carrying approximately 2,000 human civilians who appear to be treating this as some kind of recreational activity." Recreational activity? They are taking pictures with our crew members, asking for tours of our ships, and requesting autographs from our senior officers. One of them has somehow accessed our food service systems and is attempting to prepare something called pizza for everyone aboard. As the Zethkari fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace, Vex Thule looked back at the blue planet that had just humiliated the greatest military force in the galaxy. Earth was still there, still spinning peacefully, still full of humans who had treated an alien invasion like an interesting interruption to their daily lives. The final communication from Earth came through on emergency frequencies as they reached the edge of the solar system. It was a transmission from the United Nations, speaking for all of humanity. "Attention alien visitors," came the voice of UN Secretary-General Maria Santos. "We're sorry to see you leave so soon. If you ever want to come back for a peaceful visit, you're always welcome. We've learned a lot from you today, and we hope you've learned something from us too. Have a safe trip home, and remember, there's always room for more friends on Earth." As the fleet jumped to hyperspace, Commander Vex Thule began composing his report to the Dominion High Council. How do you explain that 10,000 years of preparation had been defeated by 5 minutes of human unpredictability? How do you tell the greatest military minds in the galaxy that they had been defeated not by superior weapons or tactics, but by kindness, creativity, and an absolute refusal to take anything seriously? Behind them, Earth continued its peaceful rotation around the sun. The humans had already started uploading videos of the alien invasion to their internet networks. Within hours, the entire event had become a series of memes, jokes, and heartwarming stories about the day aliens came to visit, and everyone made new friends. The Zethkari updated their galactic navigation charts, marking Sol 3 with a new designation. "Quarantine zone. Inhabitants are extremely dangerous. Avoid at all costs. Psychological hazard. May cause existential crisis in military personnel." But for the 2,000 humans who had accidentally been taken aboard Zethkari ships, the adventure was just beginning. By the time the fleet reached Dominion space, the humans had taught their alien captors how to play poker, introduced them to the concept of friendship, and somehow convinced them to redecorate the ships with more colorful and cheerful designs. Commander Vexthul's final report to the High Council was brief and to the point. Mission failed. Enemy too creative. Recommend immediate reclassification of humans as highest level threat. Also recommend therapy for all returning personnel. Planet Earth has defeated us not through force but by making us question everything we thought we knew about warfare, civilization, and the meaning of life. Suggest we never speak of this incident again. The High Council agreed. The Sol system was marked as forbidden territory, and all records of the invasion were classified at the highest level. But sometimes late at night in the Dominion fleet, alien warriors would gather in small groups and share stories about the strangest day of their lives. The day they learned that the most dangerous thing in the universe was not a weapon or a warrior, but a species that faced the impossible with laughter, creativity, and an absolute refusal to be defeated by anything, no matter how scary it looked. And deep in their alien hearts, some of them secretly wished they could go back to that strange blue planet where everyone was invited to the party. The stars had always belonged to the Vortani Empire. For 3,000 years their ships had crossed the galaxy like moving death. No world could stand against them. No species had ever won a fight with their fleet. Commander Rex stood on the bridge of his warship. The ship was called Deathbringer. It was the biggest, strongest ship the Vortani had ever built. Rex looked at the blue planet spinning below them. Earth looked so small and weak. "Sir, we are in position," said his officer Tom. Tom's green skin was darker than most Vortani. His 4 eyes blinked as he read the ship's screens. Rex smiled. His sharp teeth showed. "Good. What do our scans tell us about this world?" "The humans are very basic, Commander. They still use rockets to leave their planet. Their weapons shoot metal bullets. They have no energy shields. No space fleet." Rex laughed. It was a cold sound. "Perfect. This will be easy." The Deathbringer was not just any ship. It was a test ship. The Vortani had built new weapons on it. They needed to try these weapons on someone weak first. Earth seemed perfect for this test. "Why did we not find this planet before?" Rex asked. Tom checked his data. "It was hidden behind a gas cloud, sir. Our first scans missed it 50 years ago. But it does not matter. They are too weak to be a problem." Rex walked to the big window at the front of the bridge. Earth looked peaceful. White clouds moved over blue oceans. He could see lights on the dark side where humans lived in their cities. "They do not even know we are here yet." Rex said, "How long before they see us?" "Their space eyes will spot us in 10 minutes, sir." Rex nodded. The plan was simple. Show the humans their ship, scare them, then test the new weapons on their cities. After that, they would report back to the Empire. The test would be complete. "Sir, we have a message from the Empire," said another. "Officer, put it on screen." The face of General Zod appeared on the big screen. Zod was old and had many scars on his blue face. He had fought in 100 wars. "Rex, remember why you are there," Zod said. "Test the new weapons. See how they work against a real target. But do not destroy everything too fast. We need good data." "Yes, General. How long should the test take?" "A few days at most. These humans cannot fight back. Just don't get bored and end it too quick." The message ended. Rex turned back to the window. Soon the humans would see their ship. Soon they would know fear. "Sir," Tom called out. "The humans have found us. Their satellites are pointing at us. Their radio waves are going crazy." Rex watched the planet below. He could imagine the panic down there. People running in the streets, their leaders trying to call for help that would never come. "Move us lower," Rex ordered. "I want to be right over their biggest cities. Show them how big our ship is." The Deathbringer was huge. It was 5 miles long and 2 miles wide. When it moved over New York City, it blocked out the sun. The ship's shadow covered the whole city. "Sir, they are trying to talk to us," Tom said. What are they saying? Many things. Who are you? What do you want? Please don't hurt us. The usual fear talk. Rex thought for a moment maybe he should talk to them first. It might be fun to watch them beg. Open a channel to their whole planet, he said. Tom pushed some buttons. A light turned green. Humans of Earth, Rex said in a loud voice. His words went to every radio and TV on the planet. We are the Vortani Empire. Your world now belongs to us. You have one choice. Give up now, or we will destroy your cities one by one. Rex waited. He expected the humans to surrender right away. Most species did when they saw a Vortani ship. But something strange happened. The radio messages from Earth did not sound scared anymore. They sounded curious. Sir? Tom said, looking confused. They are asking about our ship. They want to know how it flies, how our weapons work, what metal we used to build it. What? Rex could not believe it. They should be afraid, not asking questions. There's more, sir. They are pointing all kinds of machines at us, not weapons, machines that scan things. They are studying our ship. Rex felt angry. This was not how it was supposed to work. Humans were supposed to be afraid. They were supposed to cry and beg. Move over their capital city, he said. The one called Washington. Let's see if their leaders are braver than they should be. The ship moved slowly across the sky. Below, Rex could see tiny cars stopped on roads. People were standing outside looking up at his ship. But they were not running away. They were taking pictures. Sir, we're getting reports from all over the planet, Tom said. Humans everywhere are watching us, but they're not hiding. They're studying us. Rex hit his fist on the control panel. Then let's give them something to really fear. Charge the plasma cannon. Target an empty area near their capital. Just a small blast. That should wake them up. The ship's weapons began to charge up. A low humming sound filled the bridge. Rex smiled. After they saw what his weapons could do, the humans would remember how to be afraid. But as he looked down at Earth, Rex saw something that made him pause. In the city below, people were not running away from where his ship pointed its weapons. Instead, they were moving closer. They had set up machines and cameras. They wanted to see what would happen. Commander, Tom said quietly, I think these humans might be different from other species we have fought. Rex did not answer. He was starting to think the same thing. But it did not matter. The test had to continue. The Empire was waiting for results. Fire, he ordered. Bright beam of energy shot down from the ship. It hit an empty field outside the city. The blast was small, just enough to make a crater and some smoke. Rex waited for the panic, but instead, within minutes, human vehicles were racing toward the blast site. Scientists with machines, soldiers with tools. They wanted to study what his weapon had done. For the first time in his long career, Commander Rex felt something he had never felt before when facing an enemy. He felt uncertain. Dr. Anna Smith stared at her computer screen. She worked at a big science lab in Switzerland. For the past 6 hours, she had been studying the alien ship above Earth. What she found made her excited, not scared. Look at this, she said to her team. Their energy shield has a pattern. It pulses every 2.3 seconds. That means it needs to reset itself. Her partner, Dr. Mike Brown, looked at the data. You're right. And see these readings? Their ship is heavy, but it's not using much power to fly. That's not normal. Anna smiled. It means they have weak spots, big ones. Around the world, other humans were making the same discoveries. The aliens had made a big mistake. They thought humans were too stupid to understand their technology. But humans were very good at figuring things out. In Russia, Colonel Boris Petrov watched the alien ship through his binoculars. He had fought in many wars. He knew how to spot weaknesses in enemy weapons. Look how they fly, he told his officers. Always straight lines, no fancy moves, no tricks. They fight like robots, not soldiers. What does that mean, sir? Asked his young lieutenant. It means they are used to fighting scared enemies. Enemies who run away fast. They don't know how to fight enemies who fight back smart. Boris picked up his phone. He needed to call other military leaders around the world. The humans needed to work together. Back on the alien ship, Commander Rex was getting angry. It had been 12 hours since he fired his weapon. The humans should be surrendering by now. Instead, they were doing something very strange. "Sir," Tom reported, "the humans have surrounded our blast crater with machines. They are taking pieces of the melted ground. They are studying everything." Rex looked at the screen showing Earth. Below, hundreds of humans were working at the blast site. They had big trucks and small cars. Scientists and soldiers worked side by side. "What are they learning?" Rex asked. "We don't know, sir, but they are sharing information very fast. Their internet carries data all over the planet in seconds." Rex had never seen anything like this before. When the Vortani attacked other worlds, people either surrendered or fought back with whatever weapons they had. Nobody had ever tried to study Vortani technology during a battle. "Maybe we should attack a real target," suggested another officer, named Paul. "Show them we are serious." Rex thought about it. General Zod wanted a slow test, but maybe the humans needed a stronger message. "Target their power station in the big city," Rex ordered. "Just damage it, don't destroy it completely." The ship's weapons charged up again. This time, Rex aimed at a power plant outside London. The plasma beam hit the building and knocked out electricity for half the city. Rex expected chaos. Instead, something amazing happened. Within 10 minutes, humans had backup power running. Mobile generators appeared from nowhere. Food trucks arrived to feed the workers. People shared their phone batteries with strangers. The city kept working like nothing had happened. Dr. Anna Smith got a call from her friend in London, Dr. Emma White. "Anna, you need to see this data," Emma said. "When they hit our power plant, their weapon beam scattered. I measured the scatter pattern. Their weapons can't focus properly in our atmosphere." "What? Are you sure?" "Yes, and there's more. The beam lost 30% of its power by the time it hit the ground. Their weapons are designed for space fights, not planet fights." Anna felt her heart beat faster. "Emma, send me everything. I need to share this with everyone." Around the world, the human internet was buzzing. Scientists shared discoveries. Military officers shared plans. Engineers shared ideas. In just one day, humans learned more about the alien ship than Rex thought possible. In Japan, engineer Kenji Tanaka was working on something special. He had studied the alien ship's energy patterns. Now he was building a device to copy their shield technology. "If we can make their shields," he told his team, "we can learn how to break their shields." In America, pilot Sarah Johnson was meeting with other fighter pilots. They were making plans. "Their ship is big and slow," she said. "It's built to scare enemies, not to catch fast-moving targets. If we can make our jets faster, we can fly circles around them. But their weapons are still dangerous," another pilot said. "Only if they can hit us. And Anna's team says their weapons don't work well in our air. We just need to be smart." Back on the alien ship, Rex was getting worried. The humans were not acting like any enemy he had ever fought. "Sir," Tom said nervously, "the humans are doing something new. They are moving their military machines. But not to attack us, they are hiding them." "Hiding them where?" "Underground. Underwater. In their forests. It's like they are preparing for a long fight." Rex did not understand. Most species either gave up quickly or attacked right away. The humans were doing neither. They were planning something. "Sir, we have another problem," Paul reported. "The humans are watching us with thousands of satellites. Every time we move, they track us. They know exactly where we are all the time." Rex felt frustrated. This was supposed to be a simple test. Show up, scare the humans, test the weapons, go home. Instead, the humans were turning it into some kind of science experiment. "Get me General Zod," Rex ordered. When the general appeared, on screen he looked confused. "Rex, your reports make no sense. The humans are not surrendering, but they are not really fighting either. What are they doing?" "I don't know, sir. They act like they are studying for a test. They take our attacks and learn from them. Then they prepare for the next attack. General Zod was quiet for a moment. That's impossible. No primitive species does that. These humans are different, sir. They share information faster than we can stop them. They work together better than our own crews. And they seem to think our attacks are interesting. Interesting? Yes, sir. Like they want to see what we will do next. Not because they are scared, but because they are curious. General Zod looked angry. Rex, you have the most powerful ship in the fleet. Stop playing games. Show these humans real power. Make them surrender. Yes, sir. The connection ended. Rex looked out at Earth again. The blue planet looked the same as before, but Rex was starting to realize that looks could be very deceiving. Tom, prepare our strongest weapon. Target their biggest military base. Which one, sir? Rex smiled coldly. All of them. Let's see how curious they are when we really start fighting. But as Rex gave the order, he did not know that the humans were no longer just watching and learning. They were ready to fight back. And they had learned things about his ship that even he did not know. Commander Rex grabbed onto his command chair as another explosion shook the Deathbringer. The human jets were everywhere, attacking from all directions. His shields were down to 20% and falling fast. Tom, get me a damage report, Rex shouted over the noise of alarms. Tom's 4 eyes were wide with fear. Sir, we've lost 3 weapon systems. Engine power is down to half, and the humans are doing something new. What now? They're not just attacking us, sir. They're learning from every shot they fire. Each attack is stronger than the last one. Rex looked at the main screen. It showed dozens of human jets flying around his ship. But these jets were not fighting like any enemy he had ever seen. They worked together like parts of one big machine. Sarah Johnson led the first squadron of jets. She spoke into her radio to the other pilots around the world. Team Alpha, hit the left side. Team Beta, take the right. Team Charlie, stay ready for when their shields drop completely. How do you know when the shields will drop? Asked pilot Mark Davis from his jet. Over the Pacific Ocean. Dr. Anna is monitoring everything from her lab, Sarah replied. She can see their shield power in real time. When it hits 0, she'll tell us. Back in her lab in Switzerland, Dr. Anna Smith was watching dozens of computer screens. Each screen showed different information about the alien ship. She had teams of scientists around the world all sharing data with her. Shield power dropping faster now, she announced over the global communication network. Their main reactor is overheating. When it shuts down to cool off, we'll have 30 seconds with no shields at all. In Russia, Colonel Boris Petrov was ready with his surprise. He had spent 2 days preparing something special. Hidden in a forest outside Moscow was the biggest tank ever built by humans. But it was not really a tank anymore. Sir, the alien shield readings are critical, his lieutenant reported. Good. When Dr. Smith gives the signal, we fire everything we have, Boris said. The tank was actually a mobile platform carrying a massive energy cannon. Russian engineers had built it using alien technology they had learned from the internet. It could fire one shot powerful enough to punch a hole through any spaceship. On the Deathbringer, Rex was getting desperate. His crew was panicking. Half his weapons were broken, and the humans kept adapting to everything he tried. Sir, maybe we should retreat, Paul suggested. Call for backup from the Empire. Never, Rex snarled. We do not run from primitives. Charge the main plasma cannon. I'll destroy their entire planet if I have to. Tom looked scared. Sir, that will take all our remaining power. If we miss, we'll have no energy left for shields or engines. Do it anyway. As the Deathbringer's main weapon began charging up, every human on Earth could see the bright glow building up under the ship. President Garcia sat in her command center, watching the readings from scientists around the world. Dr. Smith, how long until they can fire that big weapon? She asked. Anna's voice came over the speaker. 5 minutes to full charge, Madam President. But they're pulling power from their shields to do it. This is our chance. All units, this is it, President Garcia announced to all human forces worldwide. Give them everything we've got. What happened next was the most coordinated attack in human history. Submarines fired missiles from every ocean. Fighter jets attacked from every direction. Ground-based weapons that had been hidden for days finally revealed themselves. But the most surprising attack came from space itself. 3. Days ago, tech billionaire Robert Tesla had quietly launched 12 small satellites. They looked like normal communication satellites, so the aliens ignored them. But hidden inside each satellite was a powerful laser cannon built with copied alien technology. "Satellite weapons are in position," Robert announced from his control center. "Firing in 3, 2, 1. 12 laser beams shot down from space, hitting the Deathbringer from above. The aliens had never thought to watch for attacks from their own direction. Rex screamed in rage as his ship was hit from everywhere at once. "This is impossible! Humans don't have space weapons!" "They do now, sir," Tom replied, reading his instruments in panic. "And their ground weapons are using our own technology against us." The massive Russian cannon fired its single shot. The energy beam was so powerful it lit up the sky like a second sun. It hit the Deathbringer's main engine and punched a hole straight through the ship. "Main engine is gone," Paul shouted. "We're losing altitude." Rex watched his perfect warship falling apart around him, but the humans were not done yet. Captain Lisa Rodriguez had been waiting for this moment. She commanded a team of astronauts who had secretly modified the International Space Station. When the alien ship began falling, her team was ready. "ISS, to all Earth forces," Lisa announced. "The alien ship is falling, but it's still dangerous. We're going to board it." "Board it?" Rex heard the transmission and couldn't believe it. "They want to get on our ship?" The modified space station shot out cable lines that attached to the Deathbringer. Within minutes, 20 human astronauts in spacesuits were climbing across the cables toward the alien ship. These astronauts were not carrying normal space tools. They had weapons and cutting equipment built from alien technology. They planned to take control of the Deathbringer from the inside. "Sir, humans are on our ship," Tom reported in terror. "They're cutting through our hull." Rex grabbed his personal weapon and ran toward the hull breach. He would show these primitive humans what a Vortani warrior could do in close combat. But when Rex reached the breach, he found something that shocked him. The human astronauts were not trying to destroy his ship. They were trying to save it. "Careful with those power lines," Lisa Rodriguez told her team as they worked inside the alien ship. "We want to capture this ship, not wreck it. Think of what we can learn from it." One of her astronauts, Mike Chen, was already working on the alien computer systems. "Lisa, I think I can access their navigation data. We could learn about other worlds, other species." Rex realized with horror that the humans were not just defeating him. They were planning to steal his ship and use it to explore the galaxy themselves. "Stop!" Rex shouted, firing his weapon at the humans. But the humans were ready for him too. They had studied Vortani weapons from the wreckage of every shot fired at Earth. Their spacesuits were built to stop Vortani energy blasts. Lisa Rodriguez turned to face Rex. Through her helmet visor, she smiled at him. "Commander Rex, I presume. We need to talk." Rex looked around at his ruined ship, his panicked crew, and the humans who had boarded his vessel like they owned it. For the first time in his life, he felt truly afraid. The Deathbringer was falling toward Earth's ocean, and there was nothing he could do to stop it. President Maria Garcia put down her phone after talking to the leaders of Russia, China, Britain, and 50 other countries. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth was working together. They had one enemy now, the alien ship, above their heads. "What's our status?" she asked General James Miller, the head of America's military. "Better than expected, Madam President. The scientists have been sharing everything they learned about the alien ship. We know its weak spots now. We're ready to fight." Maria looked at the big screen showing the alien ship. It looked scary and powerful. But she had faith in her people. Humans were good at solving problems, especially dangerous ones. In Switzerland, Dr. Anna Smith was working with a team of scientists from around the world. They had been awake for 2 days straight, drinking coffee and sharing ideas. "We've cracked their shield system," she announced to the video call with scientists in 20 countries. Kenji in Japan built a working copy. Emma in London found the frequency that shuts it down, and Dr. Patel in India figured out how to boost our own signals. Dr. Patel nodded from his lab in Mumbai. If we coordinate all our radio towers and satellites, we can jam their shields for exactly 17 seconds. That's our window. 17 seconds, Anna repeated. Can our military work with that? On another screen, General Miller joined the call. 17 seconds is plenty. Our pilots are ready. Around the world, humans were preparing for war in ways the aliens could never imagine. In the ocean, submarine, crews were attaching homemade rockets to their ships. In the sky, pilots were testing jets with new engines built from alien technology they had copied. Captain Dave Roberts sat in his submarine deep under the Pacific Ocean. His crew had worked for 2 days to attach special missiles to their submarine. The missiles were built using designs that scientists had shared on the internet. "Are you sure these will work?" asked his second officer, Lieutenant Amy Chen. "The scientists are smart," Dave said. "If they say these missiles can punch through alien shields, I believe them." Around the world, 12 submarines were hiding. Underwater, all carrying the same special missiles. The aliens could not see them from space. In the Nevada desert, pilot Sarah Johnson was testing a fighter jet that looked very different from normal jets. Engineers had attached new engines and new weapons. The jet could fly twice as fast as before. "How does it feel?" asked her mechanic, Tony Martinez. "Like riding a rocket," Sarah said with a big smile. "The aliens won't know what hit them." 50 jets just like Sarah's were hidden in secret places around the world. Underground hangars, forest clearings, and desert bases. The aliens thought humans only had old, slow jets. They were wrong. Commander Rex stood on his ship's bridge preparing for his biggest attack yet. He had orders to destroy all major military bases on Earth. That would show the humans who was boss. "All weapons ready, sir," Tom reported. "Good. Start with their base in America. Then Russia, then China. Hit them fast and hard." But as Rex prepared to fire, something happened that he did not expect. Every radio and TV signal on Earth suddenly started broadcasting the same message. It was President Garcia speaking to the whole world. "People of Earth," she said calmly, "today we face our greatest challenge. But we do not face it alone. We face it together, as one human family. We have learned about our enemy. We know their weaknesses. And now we fight back." Rex laughed. "Brave words from a primitive species. Fire all weapons." The Deathbringer unleashed its full power. Plasma beams shot down at military bases in America, Russia, and China. The explosions were huge and bright. Rex smiled as he watched the destruction, but his smile disappeared quickly. The humans had been ready. In America, the military base Rex attacked was empty. All the planes, tanks, and soldiers had moved to secret locations 2 hours ago. The base exploded, but no one was hurt. In Russia, Colonel Boris Petrov watched the alien attack from a hill 5 miles away. "Just as we planned," he said into his radio. "They hit the fake base perfectly. All our real equipment is safe." In China, General Liu Wei smiled as he watched the alien ship waste its energy on empty buildings. "They attack like robots," he told his officers. "They see a military base and attack it without checking if anyone is actually there." Rex stared at his screens in confusion. "Where are all their soldiers? Where are their weapons?" "Sir," Tom said nervously, "our scans show the bases were empty. The humans moved everything before we attacked." "That's impossible. How did they know we were going to attack those bases?" Tom checked his instruments. "Sir, I think they've been watching us very carefully. Every time we point our weapons somewhere, they see which direction we aim. They knew where we would attack." Rex felt angry and confused. Every other species he had fought was predictable. They either ran away or fought back in obvious ways. The humans were doing something completely different. "Sir," Paul shouted suddenly, "we have incoming missiles, lots of them." On the screen, Rex saw 12 trails of fire rising from the oceans around the world. The submarine missiles were heading straight for his ship. "Impossible," Rex said. "Our scans showed no enemy ships." "They came from underwater, sir. We can't scan through water very well." The missiles hit the Deathbringer's shields. Normally, the shields would stop any human weapon easily. But these missiles were different. They had been built using alien technology that humans had figured out in just 2 days. The shields flickered and sparked. Warning lights flashed all over the bridge. "Shields down to 60%, Tom reported. Before Rex could respond, Sarah Johnson's voice crackled over the radio from her fighter jet. "This is Earth Defense Force. We're coming for you." 50 fighter jets appeared from nowhere, rising from hidden bases all over the world. They moved faster than any human jets Rex had ever seen. They had been upgraded with copied alien technology. "Sir, those jets are too fast," Paul said. "They're faster than our targeting systems." The jets swarmed around the Deathbringer like angry bees. They fired missiles and energy weapons that the humans had built by copying alien designs. Each hit made the alien shields weaker. Rex watched in shock as his mighty ship was being attacked by primitive humans using his own technology. Against him. "How is this possible?" he whispered. Dr. Anna Smith's voice came over the radio from her lab in Switzerland. "Commander Rex, can you hear me? We've been studying your ship for 3 days. We know everything about it. Your shields, your weapons, your engines. We built copies of all of it." "You're lying," Rex shouted back. "Humans are too primitive." "We're not primitive," Anna said calmly. "We're adaptable. We learn fast. And we work together. 3 things your empire never learned to do." Rex looked around his bridge. His crew was panicking. His ship was under attack by enemies using his own weapons. His shields were failing. For the first time in 3,000 years of galactic conquest, a Vortani commander was losing a battle. And he was losing it to a species that wasn't supposed to be able to fight back at all. The Deathbringer crashed into the Pacific Ocean with a massive splash. The impact sent waves 50 feet high racing toward the shore. But the ship did not sink. Human engineers had planned for this too. Captain Dave Roberts surfaced his submarine, right next to the crashed alien ship. His crew had been waiting underwater for hours. They quickly attached floating devices to keep the Deathbringer on the surface. "Ship secured," Dave reported over the radio. "The aliens are trapped inside, but alive." On the bridge of the crashed ship, Commander Rex sat in his broken command chair. Water was leaking through cracks in the hull. Half his crew was injured. The other half was too scared to move. "Sir," Tom said quietly, "what do we do now?" Rex had no answer. In 3,000 years of galactic conquest, no Vortani commander had ever faced this situation. They had never lost a battle, let alone been captured by primitives. The sound of cutting tools echoed through the ship. The humans were opening new holes in the hull to get inside. Rex could hear their voices getting closer. "Remember, Captain," Lisa Rodriguez told her boarding team, "we want prisoners, not bodies. These aliens have information we need." Rex stood up and threw his weapon on the floor. "I surrender," he called out in the human language he had learned for this mission. Lisa Rodriguez and her team entered the alien bridge. She looked around at the advanced technology, the injured alien crew, and finally at Rex himself. "So you're the famous Commander Rex," she said, removing her helmet, "the one who thought Earth would be an easy test." Rex looked at the human woman standing in front of him. She was smaller than him, with no claws or fangs. She looked completely ordinary. But she had just defeated the most powerful ship in the year, Galaxy. "How?" Rex asked. "How did you beat us?" Lisa smiled. "You want to know our secret? We'll show you." Over the next few hours, Rex and his crew were taken to a human facility built on a floating platform next to their crashed ship. They were not hurt or tortured. Instead, they were shown something that shocked them more than any weapon could have. Dr. Anna Smith stood in front of a huge screen showing the internet. "This is how we beat you," she explained to Rex. "When you attacked us, every human on Earth started working together. Scientists shared discoveries. Engineers shared designs. Military officers shared plans." Rex watched the screen showing millions of humans all over the planet working on the same problem. But you are different nations. You fight each other. Our scouts told us humans never cooperate." "Usually that's true," President Garcia said as she joined the conversation by video link. But you gave us something we've never had before. A common enemy. When you threatened all of humanity, we stopped being Americans and Russians and Chinese. We became just humans. Dr. Anna pointed to another screen. In 3 days, we learned more about your technology than your own engineers. No. We had thousands of scientists studying every piece of data. We built weapons and shields using your own designs. Rex felt confused and amazed. Your species shared military secrets with each other? Even enemies worked together? Former enemies, corrected General Miller. When aliens threaten Earth, there are no enemies among humans, only humans. But the biggest shock was yet to come. Lisa Rodriguez led Rex to another room where human engineers were already taking apart pieces of the Deathbringer. We're not just studying your ship, Lisa explained. We're improving it. Look at this. She showed Rex a human-built engine that was smaller but more powerful than the Vortani version. Your engineers built this to be big and scary. Our engineers built it to be efficient and smart. Rex stared at the human improvements to his technology. But you're primitives. You barely have spaceflight. We had barely any spaceflight, Lisa corrected. That was yesterday. Today we're building a fleet. She led Rex to a window. Outside he could see dozens of human ships being built using technology copied from the Deathbringer. But these ships were not copies. They were better. Your ships are built for fear, Lisa explained. Big, scary, designed to make enemies surrender without fighting. Our ships are built for exploration and defense. Smaller, faster, smarter. Rex watched human workers building spaceships faster than he thought possible. Where will you go with these ships? Everywhere, said Dr. Anna, joining them at the window. Your ship's computer had navigation data for thousands of worlds. We know where other species live. We want to meet them. To conquer them, Rex asked. Anna shook her head. To trade with them. To learn from them. To make friends with them. Most humans don't want to rule the galaxy. We just want to explore it. Rex felt a chill run down his spine. The Empire will send more ships. Bigger ships when they learn what happened here. We're counting on it, President Garcia said from the video screen. Let them come. We'll be ready. Lisa Rodriguez walked over to a communication console. In fact, why don't you tell them yourself? Send a message to your Empire. Tell them what you learned. Rex looked at the console, then at the humans around him. They were not angry or cruel. They were curious and excited. They had defeated his ship not out of hatred but out of determination to protect their home. Slowly, Rex activated the communication system. The face of General Zod appeared on the screen. Rex, finally, what is your status? Why haven't you reported? Rex looked at the human faces watching him. They had given him a choice. He could lie to his empire or he could tell the truth. General, Rex said quietly, the test failed. What do you mean failed? Are the new weapons broken? No, sir. The weapons work fine, but the humans, they are not what we thought. General Zod looked confused. Explain. Rex took a deep breath. Sir, I recommend that the Empire never come to this world. The humans are dangerous. Dangerous. Rex, they're primitives with metal bullets. No, sir. They learn faster than we can. Teach them. They work together better than our own crews. They turned our own weapons against us. They captured our ship, and now they're building a fleet using our technology. General Zod's face went pale. That's impossible. Sir, they defeated the Deathbringer in 3 days. 3 days, General. They went from metal bullets to plasma cannons in 72 hours. Rex looked at Lisa Rodriguez, who nodded encouragingly. General Zod, Rex continued, in my official report I recommend that we avoid Earth completely. These humans are not primitives. They are the most dangerous species I have ever encountered. Not because they are strong, but because they never stop learning, never stop adapting, never stop working together when threatened. The transmission ended with General Zod staring in shock. Lisa Rodriguez put her hand on Rex's shoulder. Thank you for telling the truth. What happens to me and my crew now? Rex asked. You can go home if you want, Lisa said. Or you can stay and help us explore the galaxy. Your choice. Rex looked out the window at the human ships being built. For the first time in his life, he was looking at the future of space exploration. And it was not the future his empire had planned. I think, Rex said slowly, I would like to stay and see what humans do next. Lisa smiled. Welcome to Earth, Commander Rex. Let's explore the stars together. Outside, the first human starship lifted off from Earth's surface, heading toward the stars with a mixed crew of humans and former enemies who had learned that cooperation was stronger than conquest. The galaxy would never be the same.